Yeah. Jeffrey in Pennsylvania. You're talking to Eric and Jamie.
Yo, what's happening?
We said your name in unison.
Eric.
We did. You know what? He did not know exactly which one I was going to pick. We're mind melded. We know. It's a lot of practice. I like it. But that really doesn't impact you.
Creepy. No,
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, super creepy. What do you want to talk about?
My question is probably on the board. Truth. Lowercase t or
Capital T?
Uppercase T.
Sure.
Truth. How would you falsify truth? How is that possible?
Oh my gosh, this is another one. Oh, it's my Jamie James. So, I don't think we can ever actually know that we've gotten a hold of capital T truth. Because
I understand.
Because how would we know? The only methods that we have are methods to show that something is wrong, not to show that something is right. We can show that, maybe our equations work 1,000 times out of 1,000, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work 10 billion times out of 10 billion. We just are kind of left in this weird lurch where aiming for capital T truth is what we should do, but acquiring it's never something that we can.
Exactly. So we're in a position, I agree with you, we're in a position of, I guess that's where you could say put the word agnosticism in there, but I don't really want to use that word. I just want to say we have to recognize a position of like you said, obtaining this capital T truth really is not something that we particularly can, in our own power, obtain. It would be something if there is a capital T truth, that capital T truth would somehow have to make itself known to us.
Well, that is if you're giving it, qualities and characteristics, which would be weird. I know that it says you're a religious scholar, and so we're going to move into that. But just before we kind of move into what you believe and why, the question that I have for you is, do we need capital T truth? Jeffrey?
I'm considering what you're asking me.
Sure. So an example is when we're talking about our cell phones, right? If we're talking about capital T and lowercase t truth, then everything that we have is as reliable as we can find, and yet we don't know if we have every equation working, and yet our cell phones work. Right? We get into cars that use internal combustion engines unless you're in an electric car, in which case, I don't want to go back to talk vegan, but we understand things about the world, those equations. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? We don't want to prevent ourselves from moving forward as a society because we can't get to capital T truth. We still have to be neighbors, be parents, be friends, be, workers, and those are all things that we have to do without it. So in what way do we need capital T truth? It seems like we're doing pretty well aspiring to it, even though we can't necessarily know that we've reached it.
Okay, well, if we just abandon capital T truth, then truth lowercase, what is that? What category is that? And is that something that we need? Do you think that we need that?
I think we don't have any choice but to use it.
Okay.
Right? Otherwise, the world that we live in would be unintelligible. Holy crap, we just got a $100 donation from Travis Thompson. We got some really big donations last weekend, too. Dude, thank you.
And one of your patrons is famous, apparently.
You know what? We've got a couple pretty cool patrons. They've really, really kicked in and helped out. And I'm sorry, I know this is in the middle of the call, but I saw it, and last time I forgot. So thank you for being patient, Jeffrey. I just want to say anybody else who wants to contribute, the ACA is a 501c3 nonprofit. Your donations go straight to us, and it really, really helps. We do put it to good work. Jeff, thank you for letting me cut in.
Absolutely,
yeah,
man.
Lowercase T truth.
Nope.
We're kind of in this cool place. What do you believe, and why do you believe it?
Well, I believe in a creator of reality.
Okay. Do you believe that creator of reality is somehow tied to any specific religions?
Christianity, yeah.
Okay, why?
Because I believe in, I have trust and faith in what Christianity teaches, which is that prioritizes love for that creator and love of my neighbor.
That sounds like something.
I believe it.
Would you agree with me that you're cherry picking what you want out of that Bible? It's an honest question. I mean, it's an honest question.
What?
I'm not trying to be a jerk about it.
I know.
So are you cherry picking out of it?
The answer to that question is that everything that I choose, you can say, is a cherry pick. It's what I choose to. I choose to believe in having love and appreciation for my Creator, number one, and also His commandment to love my neighbor as myself. I respect that, and I choose to believe that.
That's not what cherry picking that analogy means. It means I've picked these berries off of a cherry bush and said, look, these berries are sweet, therefore every single part of this bush is delicious. And what Eric is pointing out and is going to point out is that you're not chomping on the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
There's bark, there's bugs. You don't just get to kick that out and keep what you want unless you want to admit that that's not a reliable or justifiable position to take.
No, I do choose not to eat the bugs and the crap. Yeah, I do choose not to eat that.
Okay, so are you justified in doing this?
Am I justified in doing that?
Yeah.
Let me see. Initially, I mean, just off the top, I'd say yes.
Okay.
But you may disagree with that, but I do believe that I am.
So what I'll say is, oh gosh, I just pulled a Jamie. I'm turning into everybody today.
To clarify.
Right. So Jeffrey, when we're talking about that religion, right, and these are things that are espoused in lots of holy books. They're espoused in lots of fiction books. I can point to plenty of really wonderful works of fiction that also have those values. That doesn't mean that the other things in that fiction are true. I can say that there are true things in some books and not others, right? My go-to is Spider-Man, right? It takes place in New York. New York is a place. Presidents get elected, and we learn a lot about pop culture and all of that in the Spider-Man comics. That doesn't mean that Spider-Man is true. And so pointing to something that you like or something that you can verify is morally or ethically or objectively beneficial does not mean that the rest is. And so I would say that no, given the evidence that you gave, it is not justifiable to have that position. It's not rational.
What specifically position are you saying is not rational?
The one where you accept the Christian deity. Unless you're redefining it, at which point, I mean, okay, we'll take your definition.
I'm trying to be very specific.
Do you believe in original sin?
Okay. Original sin.
Yes.
That term has always things have to be defined. What do you mean by original sin?
The story of Adam and Eve, where Eve partake of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and that condemned humanity to sin for the rest of time, which is a kind of a curse that is born onto every single human thereafter. So everybody is born into sin. It's the prerequisite to why Jesus in the story sacrifices himself to cure that original sin. Without it, there would be no reason for a sacrifice. It is the thing getting between people and the idea of heaven, because they need to be able to, accept the sacrifice about sin, right? It all kind of falls apart if you lose original sin. Do you believe that original sin is a thing?
Yes.
Okay, why? Do you believe in Adam and Eve?
Yes.
Do you believe that there was a time when there were only two people on this earth?
Well, I believe the account of Adam and Eve, whether or not they were the only two on the earth, that I'm not sure. But I do believe in the account of the testimony of about Adam and Eve, yes.
Okay, you know that there are supernatural things about that testimony, and we can go through them one by one. And I think you'd probably disagree on a lot of them. So it sounds, again, like you're cherry picking.
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to what I said. If you say I'm cherry picking, well, aren't you cherry picking when you say there's supernatural, this, that, or the other things you're going to point to? That's
That's a perfect question. I love it. What am I cherry picking? Because to the best of my knowledge, I'm just evaluating what you're bringing up and determining whether or not that's a good thing to believe and why that might be a good thing to believe. What am I cherry picking?
What I'm cherry picking, and I will admit to this, is what I believe. That's what I'm cherry picking. I'm letting you know the thing that I believe in. So if that's cherry picking, I admit to that. Yes.
Okay, it looks like Jamie's winding up to bat. Let's pop him on the plate. Go for it.
Jamie.
Hey, what's up, Jeff?
All right.
Furry.
It's great.
So the reason that he's brought up cherry picking is you're saying, oh, I believe these things about a God and what God commands and what's good, right? But that's not something that can be said to be, oh, this is what the Bible purports to say or supports, because that's not what the entirety of the Bible says. The problem that's being highlighted and that we'd like to highlight by pointing to it as cherry picking is, what about all the other heinous shit in the Bible? Like, I mean, I was letting Eric take this call, but
that's a huge conversation, Jamie. Obviously, we can go down all of those things. We don't have enough time, but let's just go with the first thing, the first verse of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, I believe that. I choose to believe that. Now, let's just go with that.
Okay, so that's not really what I was getting at. I mean, how about the parts of the Bible where God commands his chosen people to commit genocide? Are those the commands from a God based in love?
Jeffrey?
You still there?
Yeah, I'm considering your question. I'm sorry.
All right, no, you're good. I like to give people time to think.
It takes me a while to think about things.
That's good. It's better to think for a while and come to a ripe decision than to jump.
Yeah. Now,
that genocide that you point to, that he commanded Israel to commit, you might as well say that genocide was from the very beginning, when he laid down the sentence of death for disobedience. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I mean, you're describing further the acts of a God that I don't see as a being of love.
Yeah. Jeffrey, do you have any kids?
Absolutely.
What would they need to do for you to murder them?
I would never murder them. And death...
I'm glad to hear it. Why would you ever tell some of your children to kill the other members of your children, like your tribe?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
So it sounds like you're a lot more loving than your God.
Yeah. Would a loving parent or deity ever do those things?
No.
That makes you...
But if you believe the text of the Bible, it says that the God of Abraham did those things. So is the God of Abraham loving?
What I'm trying to get you to see, what I'm trying to get you to see is that same, for him to tell Abraham to go and kill someone,
his son,
is
Isaac.
pretty much the same. Whoever it was, I'm not even clear, where exactly this falls in the scripture. I know it's in there, but the point is this: from the very beginning, the whole point, or God Himself, issued a judgment, which was death upon all of us for disobedience.
Would you ever issue that judgment to your children? I mean, you've said before, no. And the point is...
It's a very nuanced, and you have to understand what this is. It's just like, for you to ask me that would be, listen.
Okay.
For you to ask me that is the same thing as asking me, would I correct my child when they do something wrong?
No, it's not.
Well, that's the difference in you and me.
Okay.
No. The difference is I'm not obfuscating about a story about a being that kills people and saying, no, 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 it's a being of love. Is the God of Abraham, the one that the Bible describes as both Yahweh and Jesus, a God of love? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
He's being
Generally.
direct, too.
Okay.
He obfuscates about a lot. This is awesome.
So
Yes,
when that
it is.
God commands his chosen people to commit genocide, or he instructs his chosen people in the correct way to own slaves, or he says, oh, disobedience to me is worthy of death, are those the commands of a God of love?
Right. Yes.
Okay. You and I have a very different view of what a God of love would or could do.
I really, really hope your God doesn't love me, because that is a fucked up kind of love, dude. The difference between correcting your child and condemning them to suffer is the difference between sending your child to their room and locking them into the closet and burning the house down. Right? Eternal suffering and damnation, which is also prescribed in the book, unless you don't believe in that. Do you believe in eternal suffering and damnation? I'm kind of jumping the gun.
No, I'm very out of the box with regard to that. I do believe that God is love, period, like it states, and I believe that's very true.
Okay, well, I honestly think that if you want to redefine God into the concept of love and say that love exists, then
What do
we're
you
going to
mean
be...
redefine? What do you mean by redefine?
There's a lot of baggage
That's
that we're
exactly-
talking about, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
There's a lot of baggage
exactly
around the God claim that you're tap dancing around.
Yeah.
Where does the baggage come from?
The rest of the Bible. That's what the cherry picking is. The rest of that cherry tree is full of murder and genocide and slavery.
What you're doing is
I like the berries too, but that tree is fucking poison.
you're tearing some things out to leave others. I mean, I have evidence for the last time we did that on the show. There's actually a Bible page right behind you, Jamie, we didn't pick up.
I like the we in that sentence, but sorry, Jeffrey, we're getting a little bit heated here, but I'd like to just point something out, that people in all cultures that I am aware of, and then in all times, with or without a god or gods or cultural traditions, have loved and cared for their children. And I'm glad that you do that, and I don't think that depends on a god or a Bible or any text. And I'd like you to know that that's the way that Eric and I act as well, and we do it without a Bible. And so remembering that, I'd like to ask you generally, because I think we're running up on the end of the show, and I'd love to have you call back in because, hey, maybe we've misunderstood something, to think about whether or not any of this religious part is necessary for you to believe in love as a force for good.
Ooh, I like that. All right, yeah.
But
we hope to hear back from you.
I learned. Okay, I appreciate the time, Jamie and Eric. You guys keep up your
heathenry,
your good work, huh?
He was joking. We'll do our best to keep up our good work.
Quit joking all the time. That's why that's why people get all stumbled up, because you guys are joking all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Messing with you.
Oh, he points at me. He points at me.
And he ended that by saying he was just messing with you.
Okay.
But Jeffrey thinks joking is fun.
I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for calling in.
Peace, you guys.
Take care.
Peace and love.
All right.
No gods.
We ready to move on to Stefan?